We are not a TMZ channel. I don't like talking about, behind the scenes drama. I like talking about things that directly impact the movie watching experience. Whether Ezra Miller can continue to be Flash, that's a direct impact on our movie watch. It does Jonathan Majors continue to play Kang. That's a direct impact on what we're going to see in the movies. I generally don't like covering stuff like this, but it's actually really fascinating. And it touches on something of a little bit of a bigger topic. There are, of course, in the world of film criticism, multiple critic bodies. Lots of them. New York Film Critics Society, the Austin Film Critics Society, and of course, the biggest film critic society is, of course, the Critics' Choice Association, right? Critics' Choice. That's the big one. Now, I think they have like 600 voting members, something like that. Now, to get you guys caught up, a bunch of years ago, there was another one, a smaller one, that called itself the Los Angeles Online Film Critics Society. I believe that was the full name. It might be a little, but it was basically Los Angeles Online Film Critics. Not Los Angeles Film Critics, Los Angeles Online Film Critics so-and-so. They later reformatted themselves to become the Hollywood Critic Association, the HCA. Now later, to compound the confusion, they changed their names again, but they liked the 3 letters, so they kept the same 3 letters, and they renamed themselves from the Hollywood Critic Association to the Hollywood Creative Alliance.
Which really doesn't make sense.
Makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. You are not a creative alliance. You are a critic association. That is what you are. You do not make films, but whatever, And for the record, I have a bunch of friends in the HCA. Really good people. Actually, a guy who's been frequently and will continue to be a guest on our show, Sean Chandler, is a member of the HCA. One of our very good friends, Scott Mance, who is no longer with the HCA, but he was one of the co-founders of the HCA, right? I got a lot of friends there. That doesn't mean I think they're a legitimate organization, but I got a lot of good friends in there. Well, some of you may remember a few weeks ago that the big critic association, the Critics' Choice Association, sent out a memo. You remember this headline? Sent out a memo to their members that says, hey, if you are in the HCA, you got to resign from the HCA. You cannot be in the HCA and in the Critics' Choice Association, because they said the following. Now, this comes us from Variety. The CA shared a message with its members Wednesday night about the policy. Remember, this is a couple weeks ago. About the policy, stating that those who are currently a member of both organizations must confirm that they have successfully resigned from the HCA if they wish to remain a member. Why? Well, the reason the Critics' Choice Association has taken this action is that we have evidence that a representative of the HCA has improperly suggested to at least one studio, and we suspect more, that it could influence the Critics' Choice Awards voting in a way that led to a studio reaching out to the Critics' Choice Association and request that action be taken to protect the integrity of our awards. The message reads, of course, that HCA threat was empty, but the Critics' Choice Association cannot ignore this. All right. That happened, and according to a new report, like 70 out of 75 people who were members of both the HCA and the Critics' Choice Association have indeed resigned and left the HCA. They've left the Hollywood Creative Alliance. They've gone. As a result now, the HCA is launching a lawsuit against the Critics' Choice Association. And this is from today. They're saying this, according to court documents, the HCA claims that the Critics' Choice Association has defamed the organization in quote unquote an attempt to boycott and steal members of the HCA. I'm sorry. I thought they were already members of the Critics' Choice Association. How can they be stealing members if they're already members of the Critics' Choice Association? Anyway, and is seeking preliminary and permanent injunctive relief, along with quote unquote appropriate compensatory remedies. That means give us money and fees and costs in response to the organization's actions. Okay, so let's big picture this for a second, okay? This is where it gets spicy. The Critics' Choice Association, the big legitimate one, is saying, hey, we've gotten contacted by a studio that says one of HCA's people is telling the studios that they can influence the Critics' Choice Awards. This is bad for us. Therefore, we're creating a policy that, hey, if you want to be a member of the HCA, you can. If you want to be a member of the Critics' Choice, you can, but you can't be a member of both because we've got studios coming to us now saying that they have concerns, and that's very bad for us, says the Critics' Choice. And by the way, I don't have a lot of deep love for the Critics' Choice Association either. But in this case, I think they were very reasonable. They didn't put out a letter to say nobody should be a member of the HCA. They put out a letter saying, hey, look, if you're a member of both us and them, you got to choose. You got to choose. Because we got studios contacting us saying that there's a problem. Now, here's where the fire gets lit. The HCA, in bringing a defamation lawsuit against the Critics' Choice, they're basically saying the Critics' Choice is lying. In a defamation suit, you've got to prove that the people you're suing lied. You got to prove that.
Like you have to prove damages too.
Yeah. And if Rob came in and stole my Pringles, and I go online and say, Rob stole my Pringles, Rob may want to sue me for defamation, but then Rob has to prove that I'm lying. Well, he's going to have a hard time doing that because he stole my Pringles, right? You got to prove. I don't have to prove he did. He's got to prove I'm lying. That's how our court system works. And in an article in the Hollywood Reporter, it's going to be real hard for the Hollywood Critic Association, the Hollywood Creative Agency, the Los Angeles Online Film Critic, and whatever. It's going to be really, really hard for the HCA to prove that the Critics' Choice is lying about them when the Hollywood Reporter just released publicly a very damning email from the CEO of the HCA. This is what is written in the Hollywood Reporter. On January 3rd, ahead of the January 5th start of the Critics' Choice final voting, so just before the final voting for the Critics' Choice Award started, as the HCA sought to confirm talent attendance at its award show. I believe they call their award show the Astra Awards or something like that. HCA co-founder / CEO Scott Menzel wrote to studio publicists saying the following. Remember, he's trying to get famous people to come to their award show, which is part of his job, right? He's the CEO of this organization. You're putting on an award show. You're trying to get celebrities to come. Nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But he wrote to the studios and says, I do think it's important. This is what he's saying to the studio publicists. I do think it's important to note to all talent that the Critics' Choice voting opens this weekend, and there are about 50 members who are part of both groups, including 2 of us in leadership, plus there are several other members who are in BAFTA, SAG, and the Academy. I would really hammer that point home because it could be a make or break for a lot of people. 50 votes is a lot. And by the way, it's actually more than 50. It was more than 50. Let me read right over again. I think it's important to note, this is what he's saying to the studios, that all talent, that the Critics' Choice, the other guys, the bigger guys, their voting opens this weekend, and there are about 50 members who are part of both groups, including 2 of us in leadership. And there are several other members who are in BAFTA and SAG and the Academy. And I would really hammer that point home because it could be a make or break for a lot of them. 50 votes is a lot. Essentially, this is a 1940s mafia dude going to a local business owner saying, hey, it's a nice store. It'd be a shame if somebody came along and broke your windows. Now, look, there is an argument to be made that the CEO of the HCA didn't mean anything by that, Maybe just suggesting, hey, hey, it's important to put in FaceTime, right? Now look. Now if this guy stood in front of me right now and said to me, Campea, I was just trying to make the point that it's important to let your face be seen, I would have no reason not to believe him, okay? But you have to have the basic human intelligence to reread your own email and go, this could read really badly.
Like a veiled threat.
It's a veiled threat. And hey, listen, again, if he says he didn't mean it that way, I take him at his word. But you have to have the intelligence of at least a kindergartner to look at the email and go, oh, but it could totally come across like a veiled threat. Maybe he didn't mean it that way. But I would really hammer that point because that could be a make or break for a lot of you. 50 votes is a lot. The message implies, whether he intended or not, the message implies if your client doesn't show up to our award show, you could be losing 50 votes in the upcoming Critics' Choice Awards thing. Be a shame if that happened. It is one of the most monumentally stupid things I could contemplate reading. This is going to kill their organization. Or at least it should remove the CEO out. I mean, again, even if he didn't mean it, and again, I will choose to believe the best. I will choose to believe that's not how he intended it. He wasn't trying to be nefarious. I will choose to believe that. You've proven yourself completely incompetent to do the job because you just wrote to studios fucking threatening them. Whether you intended it or not, this is a smoking gun. You have no chance of winning this lawsuit because you got to go to court now and say, Your Honor, the Critics' Choice is lying about us, saying that we were applying undue pressure. The judge is going to go, well, I got this email that you wrote saying, come to our show or you're going to lose awards and other award ceremonies. They got no leg to stand on here. And I wanted to make this point. This story to me is proof that the system works. Not all the time and not perfectly. Studios are very sensitive about finding this stuff out. They see even the hint of it. They talk about it. They go to other people about it. They report it and they self-police themselves and it gets exposed and gets brought out and the matter gets settled. It would be better if this never happened in the first place, but when it happens, this is an industry ever since Sony made up a fake film critic a bunch of years ago. This is an industry that is very sensitive to even the appearance of corruption in their voting systems. And let's not be naive and don't think there isn't any of it, but to make sure there are safeties in place to make sure it doesn't start happening on a broad scale, and they got busted. Rob, this is an industry you and I travel in the circles of. We have friends in the Critics' Choice Association. We have many friends. One of our friends is one of the co-founders of the HCA. It's important to note, Scott Mance is no longer there. He left years ago. But so we have friends in both of these bodies here. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Quitting cold turkey is great in theory, but you and I both know it's way more difficult than that. And that's why there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some fake online promises. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavor-aired device that does just that. See, instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. I personally didn't know what to expect when I first got my Fume. I mean, I've never liked vapes, but my goodness, the taste. The first time I tried it, I was completely sold on it. It was incredible. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use the code Campea to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use the code Campea to save an additional 10% off your order today. You hear this story, what do you make of this?
Well, you know, just because you're an idiot doesn't mean you can say it's defamation. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The Critics' Choice Awards, we showed a picture just now. It's, 29 years old? So there is at least a semblance of credibility for the Critics' Choice Awards. They've had an award show that's star-studded. You know, they've been around, and all they do is try and show that here are these good critics, hopefully that they're legitimate critics, that their opinions are not for sale. So that's all they do, is to make sure that the critics that are part of that organization are legitimate and that their criticism is valid and the studios can trust them. Here's another guy that the Hollywood Creative Alliance, whatever that means, is not only trying to strong-arm people with an email, but then turns around and sues the Critics' Choice Awards for defamation after he's already sent a letter to the studio informing them that maybe, you know, we've got some of the... This is the death of the Hollywood Creative Alliance. This is the... Because no one is going to ever want to hear from anybody who's a part of that organization again.
Unless they change leadership. I think cleaning house, changing leadership could
they should start again, because this is already... How many times have we seen this particular organization run afoul of... Look, if you want to be a critic, go be a critic. You know, critics are great. I believe in film criticism. We need great film criticism. We're missing great film criticism. It's always useful. This organization doesn't seem to be interested in criticism at all. It seems they want to hobnob with stars. They want to put on their award shows. They want to talk to studios about anything but criticizing their work. And sending strong-arm tactics to a studio and then turning around and suing another group that says these guys are acting in a way that isn't, you know, perhaps in our all best interests. I mean, I look at this kind of stuff. I see this. To me, this just represents another example of the entitlement of the current age that we live through. Do your job. Do the work. If you want to be a legitimate organization, concentrate on what your organization does. Don't try and strong-arm people to get celebrities to show up at your award show. You want celebrities to show up at your award show? Make sure that your organization is full of integrity and honesty. And make sure that it stands as a beacon that the industry can point to and go, we're going to support these people because they're legit. And we appreciate what they try and do. What Menzel did was not that.
Yeah, again, there's clearly a line that got crossed here, which, again, while I have many friends who are in the HCA, I don't know the inner workings of it. I don't know how it runs. From the outside looking in, it's looked like it's held itself together. We never talk about it on the show, but they've been involved in a number of controversies over the last couple of years that is honestly outside of the purview of this.
Sure.
But this is directly impacting now what we would call the credibility of the award season, which is very relevant to what it is we talk about.
Well, we talk about it every day.
Yeah. So this lawsuit is going to go nowhere. I think if the HCA is just, you don't think they can survive at all? I think they can, but they got to sweep out the leadership and get new leadership in.
Look, I think if you want to, I think it's great. There's so many new online pundits and there's so many new areas of criticism. And I think fostering the new generation of critics is an important one. And rather than as print is being dismantled, online is where critics are coming from. I'm all for fostering an online critics organization and encourage those people to do the best film criticism possible. So an organization like this could be very, very important, but not when they act like this.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this whole thing? Go ahead and let us know. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.